We need to change the narrative. This is how we beat ICE. What happened during the Civil War? Europe was gonna start funding the Confederacy because it seemed like they were going to win. So what did the Union say? They said, it's not about state rights, right? It's about slavery. If you give to the Confederacy, then you are supporting slavery. So they were like, we're not gonna do that because the optics of that is bad. So right now what we have is what? Anti-immigration. White supremacy, utilization of that in order to not just affect people who look like they're different, right, in regards to Spanish speakers, but even black people. When it came to what happened in Chicago, the apartment complex, it is said that they separated both Latinos and black people in the vehicles. And this is a question, right? Why did they do that? You can say, well, there's black people who can be Latino. There's even white people who can be Latino, right? But obviously, if that were true and that was their purpose, then they would be in the same place, right? They wouldn't separate them. So they knew that they had one target who they, perceived to be possibly illegal. So why did they keep the black people who they also took with them, right? So this is either because they were still criminalizing them, right? Which means that they know they will eventually find something in order to justify keeping them, because obviously, statistically, under the Republican argument, they're black, so it's just a numbers game, right? Because of the prison industrial complex, right? So ultimately, what they're doing is depending on there being a reason when they dig deep enough in order to keep you, right? And then they're going to utilize that in order to say, hey, this is why I got them, right? The woman who was pew-pewed because she had her two-way, she didn't actually do anything wrong, The images say that literally the guy went into her and said, do something bitch, right? So ultimately, that gives me an idea. Obviously, these agents are not trained. These agents are just, little boom booms. So ultimately, it is critical that we disrupt this, that we throw them using our lawful, rights in order to kind of, push them to do things that are beyond their actual capacities so that we can disrupt them, so that we can overwhelm them with lawsuits. This is putting yourself at the center in order to, in order to record their actions and show how this is a terrorr campaign, right? And this means putting ourselves in that, situation in which we can get harmed. Think of the person in the frog outfit, right? This is a recognition in which we have to kind of, tempt the other side with, any other trained professional would know to keep their grounds, right? But they seem to think that they can do whatever they want. So let's record them and let's disrupt that and let's force that out, right? Let's unleash their terrible side so that it is recorded and so they know, everyone knows, that they are acting against lawful rights, like protesting, right? Like driving, like carrying your two-way, not using it, carrying it, right? So obviously they want to be regulated for the agents, not for Americans. So this is what we have to consider, right? And also optics, right? When I said earlier that during the Civil War we changed the optics, we have to change the optics here, right? What if it's not against Latinos, right? What if it's against Catholics? They are prosecuting Catholics, Latino Catholics, because Latino Catholics have a particular version of Catholicism, right? Particularly our queen up there, right? So ultimately, we have to adapt these symbols into this fight, right? Think of the Mexican Revolution. What was carried down in order to garner people to come together, right? We have to think of these channels in which we can ultimately position that this isn't just anti-immigration, it is Protestant against Catholic. And where do we see that happening? In the north of Ireland, in Ireland.